Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and you're watching Glenda's Dragon's Den. Um, Mercury has hit, so we are doing the best we can with technology today. So we thank you in advance for your patience. But yes, I even picked up my favorite lucky lately lucky crystal and hoping that that helps. But I wanted to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for being here every week, for your support, for your messages, for your emails, for supporting the guests. As usual, all of the description and the links are going to be, all the bio and the links are going to be in the description. And please do follow, to check them out completely, because this is only a little bit of it's only a little bit of their story, and you might want to hear more about it. um, do remember, please, as I always say, please share. Sharing is caring, because you never know who's going to heal from hearing somebody else's story of what they have gone through to get here. With that being said, I welcome Safra Turner, who is a beautiful soul, great sense of humor, willing to bear with, with this Mercury retrograde moment. And she is a very knowledgeable, very gifted person who has her story to tell, and we love to hear it. Hi, Safra, how are you?
Hi, Glenda. I'm so happy to be here, retrograde and all. We flow with it. It works
We're,
out fine in the end.
we're having fun. We're having fun. So
That's right.
so go ahead. Tell us all about you.
Well, like you said, it's always just a tiny sliver, right? What can you share in such a short period of time and to make the most impact? So I'll share a little bit of my story. It's a long story, so we'll try to kind of keep it short. I just wanted to let you know I'm holding my Moldavite here as well. So I'm with you. I'm with you making it work. And I also have to say, and I'll bring that in a little bit later as well, but just your connection to the dragons, for me, that has been what kept me going in the hardest of moments. They've always been there with me. At times when I felt completely alone, I've always had the dragons with me. So I'll go into that a little bit because I think that is very aligned with the work that you are doing and the experience that your audience shares as well, hopefully. Um, I've been healing for 30-ish years. I have led what I always considered a very parallel life. As a very young person, just like so many of us, we had so many gifts and we saw so much, we felt so much, we heard so much. And as a young person, it used to scare the living daylights out of me. Right? There were definitely experiences that I would have that would be considered a very overactive imagination, but for me, they were as real as it got. Whether it was the magical realm and the world of the unicorns, the world of magical beings come to life, whether it was the scary moments of the ghosts that I didn't understand and the spirits, the darker entities that might have been hanging around, and the random things that you would see that you would know what they are, but you still couldn't put your finger on them, such as what now looking back on would have been ET experiences and things that I could not comprehend as a child. Of course, like many of us, I hid the gifts after a while. They were too much for me, especially the empathy. The empathy walking down the street, bursting into tears as I would pass somebody that was going through their own difficulties, not being able to handle the experiences that others were dealing with. What ended up happening was I've always had a mission in life. And it was one of those missions where as a child, it's amazing. And as you grow up, people are like, oh, you poor thing, you still believe in that stuff, right? And that was, I'm going to make a difference in this world. I'm going to save the world, whatever that means.
Right.
For me, it always meant a ripple makes a wave. I don't need to know who I'm touching or where I'm touching them for me to know that my presence being here in this lifetime, right here, without doing anything more, is going to make a difference in somebody else's lives,
Mm-hmm.
going to support somewhere and somehow. So at about 17 years old, people started kind of looking at me like, oh, you poor thing, still believe that crap, right? My way of saving the world back in the
Mm-hmm.
day was
Mm-hmm.
very parallel. My spiritual awakening began when I was 17 years old. I moved over to Israel with no family and no more than the bag that I took with me from the airport, pretty much. Started a new life. My family's here. You know, that was my dream to move over there. My dream was to save the world through the systems because that was how I believed was the way. When I say believe, I'm very conscious of my language. To
Mm-hmm.
believe in for me is to
Right.
be a God. To
Right.
know is to actually stand into the path of truth.
Right.
I believed that was how I was making the difference in the world. So at the same time as I'm having with Seth Speaks, I don't know if you've ever read that book, but it was a 1970s book channeled through Jane Roberts. And it was a period where there was a lot of channeling going on in the 1970s. So I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s. 1997 was when I uncovered Seth Speaks. That was my group of friends. As soon as I moved to Israel, and it awoke me to everything. At 17, I began seeing energy. I learned how to see energy on the mountains of the Carmel outside of Haifa, trees and on
Mm-hmm.
leaves on my own hands, right? I had friends that we used to play with energy between us. We used to have learn telepathy and to learn communication through having a rule that if I think of you, you have to call me within 10 minutes. And that was the games that we would play with each other. So it was just a beautiful way of growing into that aspect of the spiritual self.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I was drafted into the IDF. I did my service. I was one of the first female combat soldiers back in the day. Certainly wasn't looked at like it's looked at these days, but thank you. Thank you. It was a dream and it was made manifest. I do want to put out there and to make very clear as well that we're in the current state of the world, people think everybody hates each other and everybody's divided. That never existed in my world. Even as a soldier, I had Muslim friends, Arab friends, Druze friends, Bedouin friends. The way that we are told to perceive the world is not necessarily so. And this way that we are told to perceive the world leads into where I am today. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So as a soldier, I learned how to bring rain because one of my jobs was 24 hours a day watching the skies and watching the ground. And at that point, it's no longer like this, so I can say it out loud. At that point, if the clouds were covering, you could go to sleep for a few minutes. So I learned how to bring rain. I learned how to bring clouds. I learned how to bring what is fog over the
Mm-hmm.
valleys that I used to guard. I used to scare the living daylights out of the other soldiers. Connecting with the spirits, bringing the clouds, proving to them that everything is possible. And that was my coming of age. I also became a Reiki healer during that military service. And this kind of led the story of my life as a parallel between the spiritual journey and what I believed was the way that I could make the biggest difference in the world. So over the years, that was the continuation of the cycle. I believed that I needed to go into policy, into international relations. At the same time, I would study that. I got my master's degree in that. I worked in counterterrorism think tanks. I worked in policy think tanks. We would create international conferences. All of the big stuff I was involved in, all of the big names I knew. This was just a part of the process. I
Mm-hmm.
directed international organizations, worked on lobbying, worked in political, all of this stuff, because I believed that that was the way
Right.
that I could heal the world.
Right.
However, what I always found, I could not cross the paths between the spirit and that physical manifestation of healing the world.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back now, I recognize that the reason why is because the two don't necessarily mix. You can make a difference in the world, and just
Mm-hmm.
simply by being who we are, we're making the difference. However, for me, it ended up being that I had to be one or the other. I could not be both. Looking back now, I understand. Back then,
Mm-hmm.
it made no sense to me. Why? Why can I not connect my spirit with the work that I'm doing? Long story short, over the years, I slowly migrated out of that world and I slowly migrated into the healing world full time. We came to America, and I say to America because I spent most of my adult life over in Israel. My husband and my son were born in Israel. And we came to America about 11 years ago now. Until then, I did all my healing on the side. I had a program for healing and supporting children on ADHD children that are considered on the ADHD spectrum. Beautiful stuff, but it was always on the side. When we came to America, I spent about 1 year in corporate. And I was like, this is not for me. I've got to get back into the stuff I love. I have to homeschool my child as well. That was another thing, as we realized very quickly the education system is not conducive for our child. I'll leave it at that. So we pulled our child out of kindergarten last year. First year and last year was kindergarten. I started homeschooling, and I started what I looked at then as a spiritual business, a healing business, and I considered it a business. That was how I started off healing mothers with anxiety, working with mothers with anxiety. I used my Reiki. I used my understanding and compassion, empathy to develop this program, accelerated emotional healing, and it ended up being just astounding. And very quickly, we moved over into working with women in general, and my tribe developed around the work that we were doing. I was very active on Facebook. I had built a beautiful structure. It was amazing. We had a very active group on Facebook, and it's still there. We still have the group, but it's shifted. Probably 600 something members, but it was active. It wasn't you post and crickets. It was, we were always healing. We were always supporting. We were always working together. It was beautiful. And over time as well, the healing business developed. Around that time was when I'd always known that there was an interdimensional aspect to myself. I'd always known this, as many of us do, that we just do not belong here. We are here, but this doesn't make sense. Right? So I stumbled across a woman who taught her own modality called Arcturian light healing. And as soon as I saw that, I said, that's for me. I've got to do this. I don't know why. I've got to do this. I took the course, and it took me 5 seconds to fully awaken into, oh my goodness, this is who I am. This is what I am. This makes sense. Things that I'm terrible with names. My guide came to me, then my Arcturian guide, who is my support system as in the work that I do, my main support system. I never forgot his name, which shocked me because I don't remember names. I'm not a name person. I'm an energy person, right? So when he came, right, and I connected with him, it was one of those, like, we've been together forever. I just had no idea type of thing, right? It was like I had to see, eyes to see, ears to hear, right? Until then, the wool is still going to be covering us. Right. The same thing happened with the dragons. With Arcturian light healing came the connection to the dragons, the awakening into the dragons. Life-changing, game-changing. These guys, I don't know how to describe working with the dragons when you're not yet working with the dragons. Beyond saying they're always there, they're always present, and there's something so inherently stalwart, strong. They are always there. They don't disappear. They don't go away. They don't just like, oh, we're done, we're good, we'll be back another time. They're always present. It's a big part of the work that they're doing here is also to support our collective ascension, expansion, awakening, supporting our planet Gaia, and protecting our planet as well. There are a lot of work with protecting. So fast forward, did great. It was wonderful. The healing business was amazing. I fell on, and I say fell on because another one of those, the way universe works, right? There was a gentleman named Mujin Choi. I heard of him. I started seeing his videos. He would do this healing stuff with his hands, and he'd make all these weird sounds. I was like, oh my gosh, that stuff is crazy. I need to learn that. But he wasn't teaching. I recognized as I watched him working, right? As you feel the energy, you know that this is powerful. Right, this is the good stuff, we've got healing and we've got like healing.
Mhm.
This guy was onto something. And I said, if he ever, ever, ever opens up any kind of teaching, I'm in. And of course he did, not long afterwards. And I spent all of the money I had to make it happen, which was not a lot of money. I was dead broke at that time, right? But it was that important. It was that important. And with Mujin and with the Blu-ray healing, this is Blu-ray,
Mhm.
opened up the entire universe. So where the Arcturians and the dragons came in with the Arcturian light healing, with the Blu-ray, everything else shifted. What he taught me was the basis for where I consider myself today. I learned to, remove attachment, remove demons, work with, all of the big stuff, healing cancers through energy, all of the big stuff. And it was astounding. And from there, came my own downloads, the works, everything that came with it. I was in seventh heaven. I loved the work. I loved working with the dragons. I loved saving the world, right? I loved just being. I have a sign up here that says, be the change you wish to see in the world. I loved being that change. And then came COVID. Right. And then came COVID. And with COVID came an entirely new reality. I don't know what you experienced during that period. And everybody had their own experience. But for me, it was pretty immediate censorship and pretty immediate suppression. I knew the game. I need to be careful about how I say, because I know everybody has their opinions on things. I didn't play the game. Let me say it like that.
Okay.
I didn't play. Okay. I didn't play the game. I didn't buy the game. And I recognize that there's a lot more going on than what we're being led on to, of course, which I think we already knew anyways. And I didn't shut up about it, which got me in trouble. It didn't take very long before internet was taken out, before I couldn't use my Google accounts, before Facebook wouldn't let me upload things and wouldn't let me do videos, before all of my passwords ended up disappearing, before basically the punishments began, right? The attacks and the punishments began. I appreciate the fact that you're nodding, because there are people that will look at you like, who are you, right?
I have seen a lot. Let's
Okay.
just say that.
That's fair. Absolutely fair. And thank you for seeing me through those words as well. That means a lot. Well, that led to the most difficult period of my life and the most astounding period of my life. The most difficult because all that cloud nine, all of that healing, all of the work that I was doing was pretty much ripped out from under me. It was also the moments when I learned who was serious and who was not, right? It was the moments when I recognized those that were truly on the path, both the teachers as well. Many of my counterparts, I found that, played along. And that really surprised me, because I'd expected a very different, outcome to come of it. And I also learned that some of us will stick through the ride, and some of us just kind of need to step back and let things happen. So I got kicked off of Facebook, found myself pretty alone. I started out on Telegram, developed a group over there of, we were, just as that was coming, came the downloads for the Light Warriors. This was an advanced training that had come through for us that are here to step up into our power, to support the collective into their power.
I know.
Yes, brilliant. So that began around that same time. The Light Warriors was astounding, and that brought me into its own journey. While I was dealing with the suppression, there was about 2 years I was fine. I handled it. My guides seemed to step back. And in those moments, I didn't understand what was going on. I was lost. Like, why would you guys, the dragons always stay. Always. Every single day and every single night, every single moment, in the loneliest of times, the dragons were always there. Where in the past, it used to be like, hey, get on, let's go, do, whatever we're doing. Then it was like, hey, we're here with you, right? Always protecting, always supporting, always. I'm coming to tears just thinking about it, because it was such an astounding experience. Always there, always there. I learned in those moments how to truly protect, how important it was to shield and protect. I learned in those moments what it is to be truly alone in the world as well. In those moments of true aloneness, magic happened. I was alone. I was depressed. There was nothing I could do. I was not allowed to get online. I was not allowed to heal people publicly. I couldn't do. I had to come to terms with the fact that the work that I had done until that moment, whether I accepted it or not, was ego based. I liked being seen. I liked healing others because others loved me for healing them. I liked that I was making a difference in the world. And all of a sudden, I found myself in a place where it didn't matter if anybody saw me. Am I going on my path or am I stopping? What's going on? Of course, it was never a question in my mind. You continue forward, right? No matter what. And it was always the words in the loneliest of moments, just trust the process. Just keep forward. Keep forward, trust the process. And I did. And I took those couple of years of complete loneliness, not allowed to talk, not allowed to be online, to study. And I began to research. I began to learn. I took the knowledge that I already had. And I always knew about the fact that energy is always interconnected, right? I always understood the oneness, but I wasn't comprehending. To understand, to stand under, I accepted it, but I didn't comprehend it, right? All of a sudden, this entire universe opened up to me. I began to understand the game better. I always knew we were living in a matrix. I didn't understand what that meant. I always knew there was more out there. I didn't understand what that meant. I always knew that we don't have to feel the way that we're told we have to feel. We don't have to be divided. We don't have to be conquered. We are one. But I didn't understand what that meant. And in those years, I followed, as we love to say, following the white rabbit, right? Oh, boy, did I follow white rabbits. I followed into the darkness. I followed into the light. I followed into the universal law. I followed into natural law, man's law, understanding. I just, from the beginning to the end, I just studied and learned and search graded and studied and journaled and journaled and journaled.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that came what is, in my opinion, for me, humbly, the greatest comprehension there is. And that is, there is no separation. We are God. God is us. It's not I am connected to source. It's I am. Mm-hmm. I am source. As above, so below. Mm-hmm. But it also continues as below, so above. Mm-hmm. We are that connection from heaven to earth. Mm-hmm. Our heart center is that connection from heaven to earth. Exactly. And from us, our existence is creator experiencing reality here in this physical form and through all the dimensions across time and space. But this is where we are right now. Mm-hmm. And the thing that astounds me the most is that we're living in moments that are very, very chaotic, right? There are many that are really uncomfortable with what's happening right now, and understandably so. But when we pull back and we see the bigger picture of this, chaos is giving us an opportunity to shine. This is giving us the opportunity to turn into the light rather than to focus on the darkness. This is giving us that opportunity to say, you know what? I tried that path. I'm God. I'm going to act like it now. I'm going to take my power back. I'm going to turn to myself. I'm going to turn and become that sovereign being that I've always been. I just forgot. And so where we are now in my path is about 6 months ago. I said, I'm stopping everything. I'm going to go hike the trail. I went onto the Appalachian Trail, spent a month, a little over a month, hiking the trail and healing and crying and yelling and healing. What is that word? I saw the darkest of things and experienced the lightest of things. I had near-death experiences and I had the highest moments of exhilaration and everything in between. And I healed. And as I healed, that inspiration came back of, okay, now that you're healing, it's time for you to unfold the next part of your path. And that next part of my path is what we have developed now into what is called the Institute of Holistic Health and Advanced Energetica. Okay. We've developed a PMA, which is it's a private ministerial association. What it has done is created a method for me to be able to teach Law of One to be able to teach our power, to share it out. When I say teach, I need to be very clear. It's not like I'm a teacher and they're my students. It's
Right,
if you just feel like staying down there, go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
If you're ready to grow and then get way beyond me, that's the work that we do here. You know, the PMA aspect, the private membership aspect, takes it out of the spotlight. It takes it away from the censorship. It takes it into a space where we can teach and speak and heal freely with nothing stopping us. I utilized man's law against them, pretty much. Where they said that, right? Where they said that this is, you're allowed your religion, you're allowed your freedom of expression within that. I said, okay, let's play the game. Here you go. Got myself a PMA. So now we have a incredible organization where we're developing a living library of suppressed and hidden books and manuscripts.
Mm-hmm.
We are writing all of these astounding articles, scientific and academic-based articles on holistic health and healing and all of these things, so that we can bring this out to people to support the awakening process, to support that spark that is ready to awaken for those that are ready to awaken that spark. Eyes to see, ears to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we are. We are in those infant moments now of bringing that institute to light, giving the opportunity to bring others the spark that's in all of us, and to expand it out into our evolutionary conscious expansion.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, wow, I can't even. I'm in goosebumps here. So now, your husband,
Yes.
how is he with your expansion?
This was a fascinating process. I say this is between you and me, but this is between you and me and the whole world, right? A little bit. Until that suppression hit, he really had no idea about what I was doing. He knew I had a healing business. That was kind of it, you know? And he knew it worked because I'd done it on him, right? He wasn't into it, couldn't have cared less. The first 2 years of the suppression, he couldn't make sense of it. His mind could not make sense. Why would they attack you? Why, you're crazy. There was once or twice that he actually said that to me. You're crazy. And it's just like, well, that hurts. That hurts. After about 2 years, when there was a break moment, where he'd asked me to stop talking about what was going on, the attacks, the experiences, you know, and he wasn't trying to be mean. He was just like, this is scary. You know, what's happened to you is scary. You're not the naive, sweet, you know, trusting Safra that you were not very long ago. You've changed. Something's changed. And that was my break moment, when I realized that I couldn't even connect on that level with my own husband. Well, that break moment also led to the evolution of our relationship, because something clicked in his mind, and he began to realize that she's not making this up. This is really happening. He began to accept. He began to see rather than to know, rather than to just see that these things were happening. And he began to open up to the fact that there's something more to her than just some crazy lady who like heals people, basically. As he told me, my birthday was yesterday, and as he said yesterday, you know, like, I love you and all your craziness. And it's a beautiful thing. We've reached the point where we are in different places in our own cycles, and we absolutely respect one another in those places, but we see each other now. And without him, gosh, I don't know where I would be. I don't know, because he's also been my strongest support system. We just had to get through that. What the crap is going on? Like, period. Of it first. So he loves to tell people, he has a home improvement business, and he loves to tell our clients, you know, Saf's our doctor. She's our doctor. We don't go to a doctor. We have Safra. He has brought me so many clients. We have a gentleman now who he's I think he's stage 2, stage 3. He must be stage 3 at the moment, cancer. My husband was like, just talk to my wife, you know, check out the witchy stuff. I'm just like, okay. I don't know if you should say that, but they did. And they came, and here we are working together now. They're getting onto some real therapeutics, not just the
The
allopathic
medicine.
that is
Right.
not helping. Right. I have to be very careful about language that I use. That's
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
gets me.
because even though he calls you a doctor, you're not a doctor, and you're not giving medical advice. You're not practicing medicine. You're just adding holistic ways in addition to all their medical stuff.
There we go. Thank you. I appreciate
You're welcome.
that. So yeah, so he's
I've been there, so.
yeah, and I can tell you get that because that's literally the line. I'm not a doctor. I'm not this, I'm not that. Yada yada yada.
Mhm.
Continue. We can talk now. But yes, so at our own home, we have no need for external support. And generally, the way it works around here is the ones that are, when they find they have nowhere else to turn, generally that's when people seem to be ready to turn to deeper support and therapeutics that they may not have had available to them up until now. They're more ready to accept it. We actually had a gentleman, one of my students, it was amazing. Amazing. What timing. We were just starting on natural therapeutics, and I teach a lot about suppressed therapeutics behind the membership gate. And her father had just gone to the hospital, seizures. And he was in the hospital that first day. Just the seizures kept continuing. He was just deteriorating. And the doctor's like, there is nothing we can do right now other than take tests. We'll take tests. We'll get back to you. They said. So he's in the hospital, taking the tests. While that happened, she called me. She was like, Saf, here's what's going on. I was like, all right, well, go ahead and take this. It can't do any harm at this point, right? Because he's not getting any help anyways. Go ahead and take this. Bring this to your father. You're going to do this in a couple of doses over a couple of hours. And then you're going to go from there. Here's how you continue. She brought it to her father, gave him the doses, a couple of hours. Within 5 hours, they released him from the hospital. The doctor told her on the way, he said, whatever it was that you were doing, keep doing it. Keep doing it. That's something that we've received a number of times. It's really nice to hear when a doctor says to a client, keep doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
The stage 4 cancer client as well, same thing. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Yep. Because he's healthier now than he was throughout the entirety of his, experience.
Right.
Keep doing it.
And that's when I'm a huge believer that yes, we created medicine to complement the holistic. So both should work complementary, not just all this way and all that way, because there's stuff missing. Otherwise, we wouldn't have created the medicine.
Yep.
So that's, before pharmaceutical took it over.
I know.
But anyway,
I get
in
it.
the very original place,
Well,
we meant to complement.
And I'll take that to another step. And this is, from just when we look at our modern day medicine, right? We had the alchemists of up from the 9th, 10th century up until now. But, it was the great enlightened alchemy period was probably around the 13th to the 16th century, 17th centuries. What is alchemy? Alchemy is Arabic for alchemia. Alchemia is the chemistry. Alchemy is the predecessor to our modern day chemistry and medical system. And we don't recognize this. I remember in school, I learned about the alchemists in public school. What did they teach you? It's crazy guys who are trying to make, this gold out of coal. And that's where it begins and that's where it ended. I've got probably 10 different books on alchemy that will tell you otherwise. Right? Because where it did begin was very, very aligned. The physical and the spiritual were always interconnected, right? Healing was always medicine. It was always connected to God or to spirit or to source, whether you're coming from a shamanic perspective, whether you're coming from alchemical, whether you're coming from the church, whatever it is. There was always an interconnection that only now in this past, I don't know. Well, I think we do know about 100 years, right? Yeah, more or less, was separated completely,
right.
One from the other.
Right. And we are starting to see it though come back and people realize that science and spirituality do meet, do complement each other, and do prove each other correct.
Yes.
That
Yes.
that's where I'm seeing that. I'm like, finally,
Yes.
finally, we're
Absolutely.
starting to see that all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, scientists writing about how spirituality helped them through this and got them to this point, and how then science correlated with spirituality and proved that section of spirituality to be, otherwise hospitals would not allow Reiki practitioners.
That's right.
You
It's
know,
true. And,
um,
and
hospice would not allow them to be there.
yep. And I'd
So,
like to hit on something there too, because
mhm,
I think what one of the things you're saying, I've gone between I used to be very, very balanced with allopathic and natural, and then COVID
mhm,
hit and I became very imbalanced, right?
right, right.
But one thing that I'm recognized is
Mhm,
that it's not the people that, the ones that are in the system doing the work are such good people. They're just,
mhm,
they're conditioned,
mhm,
but they're such good people. And there is work that comes in. I do a lot of work with nurses. I do a lot of
mhm,
work with physical therapists and
mhm,
occupational therapists, and it's just a part of, it's actually part of my husband's work, because where he does his own improvement, we support seniors and those that are getting out of hospitals and rehab. We,
right,
we we want to be of service. How can we be of service? This is a great way to do it.
right.
And you're working with all of these people that are coming from such heartfelt spaces, and this is
Mhm,
something I think we need to remember at a period where the divisiveness has broken us as a collective. We're
mhm,
one, and we
mhm,
all inherently are good, coming from a
mhm,
good space.
right.
So, anyways, just wanted to throw that in there.
And it's perfect, perfect. And like you said, we're all one. And when we come out of a hospital or situation where we're really sick and we're vulnerable, something that lifts our spirits up helps, because that's how you actually heal faster.
That's right. That's right.
Being noticed, being heard,
Yes,
being given the space, feeling safety.
that's it.
So,
That's it. And I think a lot of times, by the time people come to me, it's
mhm,
because they don't feel safe
right.
anymore, and that gives them, even if they're not ready to heal, and not everybody is
Mhm.
ready to
No.
heal, and that's fine. We each have our own journeys and our own paths,
Mhm,
but that knowing of, I see you, I
mhm,
hear you, I hear what you're saying, I hold you, and then I hold your experience, and I covet you as an
mhm,
individual. For so many, that is enough. That's
mhm,
enough.
mhm.
It's a difference between night and day for them.
Definitely, definitely. Now, has there been more or something or less? I know you went through the dark side. I call those 2 years the dark side of the soul. That's when they really tested who you are and showed you how strong you are, and how
Yeah.
thoughtful you are, and exactly what to really test if you really mean to say, yes, I want to go through this. Yes, I want to be on my path or not. Because that's where those dark sides of the moon or dark sides of the soul
Yeah.
really mean. They're there to give you growth and understanding of what you're really doing. So, besides those 2 years, let's just say that, or 3 years or whatever. Okay, 5 years. Oh, you probably are in heaven though.
Well, we are here on Earth, which is heaven, is it not? I see it as.
Yes, yes. So, um, when past that time, has there
Mhm.
ever been any other time where you've really been really in a dark place?
Oh yeah. So yeah, there was a war in
Mhm.
Israel.
Mhm.
And now again, I know everybody's divided. So let's see beyond the division into the
Right.
human perspective,
Exactly.
right?
Hmm.
There was a war in Israel. It was about right after our son. He was probably about 2 years old at that point in time. Now, until then, in Israel, the men specifically, they do what is known as miluim, reserves, and they get called up for reserves. My husband happened to be one of the ones that was constantly called up for reserves all the time because he would show up, right? He's very
Right.
dedicated to being who he was.
Right.
So one war, he got called up, in uniform, gone 30 minutes, right? Doesn't
Hmm.
tell you where he's going, as a wife, I know, right? But they don't tell you where they're going. And he was gone for, I don't know, maybe 10 days, something like that. It was wars, didn't normally last very long. They don't normally last very long in Israel. They're generally, shorter. It's gone for maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, something along those lines. And I held it together. This was before my woo, spiritual awakening and everything, right? Like this was, when I was spiritual, but like, I didn't recognize, I wasn't aware of my power.
Right.
And when he came back, I held it together, right? The kid had to go to the hospital because he had a fall and something with his lymph nodes at 2 years old. Like it was a wild time. I
Right.
know what's going on. I'm like again alone. My mother-in-law was there, but like still,
Yeah.
And when he came back, I could not pull myself back together. I couldn't get go. I couldn't. The anxiety. Oh my gosh, the anxiety. There's in Israel, you always live under a constant state of anxiety. Right? There's always like some level of like, am I going to die today? Like just a part of like your daily life.
Right.
But that one I couldn't pull back. I was shaking constantly. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. The panic. All of the. And my husband went about 3 weeks later. He kind of looked at me. He was like, "Soft, you got to go. Take some time for yourself." It's like, you know what? Okay, fine. I told you he's a good man. This man. He's a good man.
Right.
So I went, left the child with him. I went for I don't know 3 nights. I think it was something like that. And I did what was an astounding spiritual journey. I went up to Tiberias, and I'm very big on spiritual sites, not religious necessarily, spiritual. So I went to all of the churches, right, and
Right.
all of the Jewish holy places around. I went to the hot springs, which you have in the Tiberias. And there was a moment when I went. It was actually I believe it was Saint Peter's Church. It was a second century church, right on
Mm.
the lip of the Sea of Galilee. Literally, this
Mm.
room, maybe I don't know, 50 feet by 25 feet, something like that, with stained glass windows.
Okay.
Totally empty. Nobody was there but me, and the shores of the lake were right there. And I being broken, completely broken. I
Mhm.
mean, when I say broken, I was, except for the fact that I was walking, I was heap on the floor, right? Broken. And I went to that church and I sat down and I just kind of felt the presence of God, spirit,
Right.
whatever you want to call it. And I started to feel better. And I was like, all right, heard the voice in my head said, go meditate. Went out to the sea, sat down on the shore. I started meditating. I had this experience. I trust the meditations where they take me, right? Where they
Right.
guide me. And this particular one had me diving into the waters. I hope this is all right to be taught. I think this is, but
Yeah.
well, the next part of it. As I dove into the waters,
Mhm.
saw bodies everywhere, and they were just all over. And I grabbed one of the bodies and I pulled it to shore, and I started resuscitating this body.
Mhm.
Just start
Mhm.
breathing into it. And again, all of this is meditation mode. And at some point, probably a half hour into that meditation, something like that, like she kind of like the eyes kind of started flittering a little bit.
Right.
And I looked at her and I was like, oh my God, that's me. That's me. This woman that was almost dead, gone,
Mhm.
almost gone, is starting to come back. That was the first day of that healing trip. For the next 3 days, I did meditation probably 2 or 3 times a day. And I
Right.
went and I just brought her back more and more and more until by the end of it, she, this Safra
Right.
that had died was there standing in front of me that I could hug, that I could hold, that I could be with. And then we could, at that point, she could come back and be reintegrated into myself. With
Mm.
that, the anxiety went down. With
Mhm.
that, I was able to live life again. I was able to be a mother again, a wife again, work again. Um, but I had to learn that sometimes parts of you lose parts of self. Sometimes they need to come back,
Mhm.
sometimes not, right?
Right. Right.
but to recognize and to love all of those parts of self, even
Mm-hmm.
the quote unquote weak ones,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no such thing as weakness.
Right.
It's a journey. So yes, and I've had enough of the anxiety inducing experiences, but that was by far the harshest. The
Well,
hardest.
with all that accumulated stress, of
Yeah.
course, you had to kind of shut down. Basically, you had to die or come close to it, not literally, but come close to it,
Yeah.
because you couldn't deal with the stress of him not being there, the child. There's nothing worse than feeling alone, having a young child, and then going through health
Yeah.
uh, emergencies.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that was awful. I'll tell you what came from that beyond the healing itself was that
Mhm.
it taught me how to support others into working through their own anxieties and
Right.
their own fears. If
Hmm.
you don't work through it yourself, there's it's if you don't experience it yourself, first of all. And I've certainly had my share of experiences. I mean, as a soldier, one of my biggest fears was waiting for the terrorist's eyes to kind of pop up over my observation stand. Where 20 years later, it happened to others, right? So like it was definitely not a that was interesting false experience.
I just saw that. I was like, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to continue. Okay, go ahead.
I already know what that was. Retrograde. But those I learned through the fear
Hmm.
to face those walls of fear and to
Right,
walk through that wall to the other
right,
side.
right, right.
If I hadn't gone through those experiences when I was younger,
Hmm.
those kinds of things, I don't know how I would have handled the dark years,
Right, right.
right? And I
Exactly.
think for all of us, we have these experiences that they're very scary, they're very overwhelming, they're too much,
Hmm.
but they're not an end.
No.
Believe it or not, these can be a support system to bring you into the highest potential of who you are.
Yep. So usually what I say is those experiences fuel me to move forward and fuel my path, and just I take that strength and convert it from a bad experience into something good.
Yeah.
Um, my first my first divorce, when we were going through our worst, I used that energy of like anger, I want to kill you, the whole thing, and I would actually build stuff around my house.
That's a beautiful way to feel.
So my boys had better bedrooms because I built shelves, I did this, I did that, and my daughter had a better. Everything was always anything, and my kids would like come home from a weekend with him, and they would say, "Oh, you were angry, weren't you?" Uh huh. But they saw me, instead of letting it kick me down, they saw me rise up and above it.
Yes. That's it. That's it. And that's always it. It's even in those moments our children are learning through us.
Mm-hmm.
They might
Mm-hmm.
not say it, they might not act like they understand it, but in
Mm-hmm.
those moments they're learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have about 8 minutes, 10 minutes. Is there anything else we have not covered that you want to share with the audience?
If I may, there actually is. There is. Um, One of the things that I'm recognizing is where, as we are going through the experiences that we're going through now as a
Mm-hmm.
collective,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of us have really lost ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of one of the reasons I think I was suppressed as well is because there's a lot of dots out there for us to be connecting. When we feel lost, a big part of the reason is because we're focused on the outside. We're focusing what's going on in the world, what's going on out there, what are they looking at, how are they looking at me? I have to deal with this, or I'm under this pressure, or I have to be a better mother, or I have to, do better at my job, or whatever it is. And we're losing parts of ourself to an ego-based identity.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can just stop, if you can just stop for a moment and turn into your heart and into yourself and begin to, rather than focus on the outside, to focus within, on your own experience, your own healing journey, your own personal responsibility. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big, that is the beginning of your path to healing yourself and stepping into your own power.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to put out there for anyone that's going through really difficult moments right now, or real moments of what is going on out there, moments, turn within, focus within. There are people like Glenda, myself, others like us that can always support and can always
Mm-hmm.
guide, but turn within, turn into you. And in those spaces, you're going to find the source of your own power.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the one big thing I would like to share.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, even though it's going to be in the description, tell us how people can find you.
Yes,
Um,
sure. Well, so I will put it like this. I was kicked off of most social media, but that said, I do still have a group on Facebook that is run through an incredible woman, Melissa Coffey.
mhm,
She just makes sure that my message get passed on over there, and that's how we've continued it since. So there's a group on Facebook, the Ascending Goddess. This is for women,
mhm.
and it is all about supporting into your expanding self. We also have on Telegram. I have a group, and I'll get you the link for that because links are a little bit weird in Telegram.
Right.
And most importantly is the website. The website is where the action happens. And I
Mhm.
highly, highly recommend, don't just look at the website, www.iholistica.com, plug. Um, but actually go in. There's this, the membership is absolutely free. The only
Right.
reason there's a membership gate is to protect the knowledge. It's not
Right.
about, oh, remember you're special or something, like you have to pay a lot of money, and I'm going to try to sell you. It's not
Right.
like that.
Right.
This is to protect the knowledge. So go in, register, and explore. You have books in there. You have articles in there. There's free courses in there to help you to get onto your healing path, to learn
Mhm.
around about the matrices.
Mhm.
There's things in there for you. So go on and check out that. And I am always available at Safra the Healer at protonmail.com. I'll give
Okay.
you that link as well.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
getting
thank
there. I'm getting there. One of these things I'm gonna have like one perfect thing to say, but coming back.
you did fantastic, and you explained your journey so well that I am sure it's going to bring a lot of healing and a lot of awareness, which is really what we're doing this for, to bring people aware to what their journey, what they're going through. They're not alone. They're really not alone. So,
No, 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 never, never.
well, thank you very much. And we'll definitely keep in touch. And, by any means, anytime you want to come back, you let me know. And to our audience, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
As always, bless you and love you. Bye.
Thank you.